Welcome to episode 98.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Who Did That Voice, where we take an in-depth look at voiceovers.
Ready to take a vacay, but you just don't have the time to plan? Let the agents at 3D Travel Company pamper you and take care of all the little details. Find us at www.whodidthatvoice.co and click the Book Now button on the left-hand side. For a limited time, Who Did That Voice listeners can receive a Disney gift card for qualifying Disney and Universal trips, booked and traveled by 2017. Hurry and book today so you can travel away.
Merry Christmas and welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. Today's special guest is the voice of Hanzo from Overwatch. Stay tuned right after this.
Only a Shamada can control the dragons. Who are you? Do it then. Kill me.
No. I will not grant you the death you wish for. You still have a purpose in this life, brother.
No. No. My brother is dead. Genji.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice. Today on the show I have Paul Nakauchi joining me today. Paul, thank you so very much for giving me some of your valuable time to chat with you.
It's my pleasure.
Well, it is such an exciting day to be able to speak with you, not only because I love voiceover, but because my brothers are both gamers, hardcore gamers, and my brothers both play Overwatch, and Hanzo is actually one of their absolute favorite characters of all times. And we will definitely dive more into Hanzo for sure from Overwatch. But the very first thing we like to do, Paul, when we have a guest on the show is to get to know them. So tell me about young Paul growing up, and how did he become the man he is today, and how did he get into acting and more specifically voiceover?
Well, I was always interested in, acting as a young kid. As my training is in voice. I went to Cal State Northridge for any of you Cal State Northridge alumni in Los Angeles, and I was a music major, and I studied voice and but singing. I studied opera actually.
Oh wow!
And yeah, and I did some of those major opera competitions like the Met competitions and stuff. But then I got into doing musical theater, and I did The King and I. And then I just started kind of working and doing the King and I and other productions. And then later, I didn't actually start doing voiceover until much later, when my commercial agent just asked me if I would come in and do a random audition for a voice.
Nice.
It was an Asian, an Asian voice, and I said okay. And so from that point, I just kind of started booking things, and then Blizzard came calling, and I did a few games for Blizzard. I did World of Warcraft, Mist of Pandaria. I did Diablo 3. I'm the voice of Maltheo.
Oh, nice.
And then Overwatch happened.
Yeah.
And, they asked me, I auditioned for Hanzo, and they hired me to do Hanzo. And but then Overwatch became this huge sensation.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was the year that it sort of came out in 2015, I was on Broadway actually doing another production of The King and I, with Ken Watanabe and Kelly O'Hara, and so I was there that entire year, and that's when it all kind of blew up and became so big. And that's when, people started asking me to go to like these Comic-Cons, and I was actually working, so I couldn't go. But this year was the first year that I actually went to one of those Comic-Cons. It's called Supernova down in Australia. I just got back a week ago. It was meeting all the Australian fans. We were in Brisbane and Adelaide. I'd had been to Brisbane before. I shot a movie down there about 10 years ago.
Oh, nice.
And so it was kind of nice to go back, but it was so nice to meet the fans, actually. I was just taken aback at how the fans just really love it.
Absolutely.
And they're so excited about it. And I think a part of it is because your voice is in their head for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if they play the game, and especially like if they're Hanzo mains, it's like my voice is there all the time. And so it's like, I guess I sort of kind of become a part of, their psyche in a kind of a strange way.
Yeah.
And so it's really wonderful to meet meet everybody. And I have a lot of pictures.
That's
on my
awesome.
Instagram and a Facebook page of all the cosplayers. So
sweet.
So I just want to say, a hi out to all of you American Overwatch fans, and keep playing the game.
Absolutely.
Keep enjoying it.
Well, I know when I've played Overwatch, Hanzo was actually my favorite just because he's, more old school with the bow and arrow versus a modern day weapon like some of them have. And, I love his special when he fires his bow and there's the dragon coming out intertwined with his shot.
Dragon.
It's just so epic. And then, of course, your call out when you're firing the weapon. It's like the special. It's super amazing. I'm not a super hardcore Overwatch player, but my brothers live and breathe it. They are 13 and 15 years old, and they are both Hanzo mains. They play him like nonstop. Oh. So at one point, I think go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, because I know he's one of the more difficult characters to play and to master. So
yeah. Well, I think my brother told me he had gained enough experience or whatever to get like a golden bow or something, and I was like, what? So like apparently he's super good. And he talks about trying to get on official teams and stuff to play for Overwatch at BlizzCon, which I know you went to BlizzCon this February, I believe. So, and I think that was your
last
first time.
February, but yeah.
Was it last February? Okay.
Yeah, last February. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think that was your first time to actually go to BlizzCon last year as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. And
awesome.
Then again, see the fans, they came from all over the world.
Yeah.
When I was sitting there, meeting with them, I would ask them, so where are you from? Oh, we're from Scotland, we're from Japan. It was just, it was amazing.
You're like,
that they would come all the way out here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that just sort of like tells you how immersive these games are for people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I know, when you're playing a character, I know from talking to you before the interview started, you're not a gamer yourself, but you are an actor. So you may not know these questions or know answers to these questions, but my little brother Preston inadvertently was asked by someone, his girlfriend, for me. She was kind of doing some spy work because he didn't know that I was going to interview you, but he did challenge me to get you on the show. So I definitely reached out, and he gave me a couple of questions inadvertently without knowing it through his girlfriend. So if you can't answer these, totally fine. But Preston wanted to know, has Hanzo ever, to your knowledge, ever had a wife or a child?
No.
Okay. All right. And
not in terms of the backstory.
Okay. Yeah, not in terms of the backstory. And then his other question was, what is Hanzo's viewpoint on his brother Genji?
Um, I think it is sort of a love-hate relationship. I think
Yeah.
they're competitors. There's a brotherly, yet there's a brotherly love, even in the midst of all the things that happen between them.
Yeah.
It's a kind of just a classic sort of sibling rivalry kind of relationship. And it has the ups and downs of exactly that kind of sibling rivalry. For
Yeah.
one point you're close, and the next point you're not. And the next point you're fighting.
Yeah.
So it mirrors that same sort of brother kind of relationship.
Yeah, I think that's dead on. That's fantastic, and I think you'll be overjoyed to hear these questions from Hanzo from Overwatch.
No, I'm so glad that he is so interested enough to actually ask those kind of questions, because
Yeah.
that's the thing about the whole game, is that I think that the way that Blizzard has constructed it and created all of these really kind of rich backstories, it's not just playing the game, but the playing of it makes you sort of kind of question the world of the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's really great.
Well, last night I was watching the short that they made for Hanzo, because they kind of do the backstory shorts through Blizzard. And their animation is amazing. They need to come out with a feature film for Overwatch and bring you guys all back. But just the short I watched where you guys were battling, you and Genji, and, you didn't even know Genji was, your brother at first. And then all of a sudden he's announcing he's your brother, and he's like, my brother's dead, and it's just, they build this backstory in just 8 minutes that you're going, holy cow. And so when you do play Overwatch, you have these, because I'd seen other videos, but I hadn't seen Hanzo's short film, and they build these immensely deep stories in under 10 minutes, and they create such an amazing backstory so that when you are playing those characters, it's not, oh, I'm just playing Hanzo. It's like you're playing Hanzo, and you have passion and you have motivation and reason behind it, because now you feel associated with his story. And obviously, the way they've created these mini stories, they've given people an association to say, I associate with Hanzo, and this is why I'm playing with him, because of his story. It touches my heart, my soul, and that's why I play him, or whatever. It's not just I picked him because he had a bow and arrow, so it's really, really unique.
No, it is. And that's why I think the game has sort of touched so many people. And then two, the game, it's very diverse. There's all kinds of different characters.
Yeah.
So there's like a character that everybody will relate to. There will be some characters that some will gravitate more to than others. But I think that was one of the kind of brilliant things about the creators of the game, because I think that's one of the things that makes the game so unique.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Paul. Well, thank you so very much for answering those questions for my brother. I know he will be ecstatic when he finally hears this. And he lives and breathes Hanzo. I cannot tell you a time when I've gotten together with him that he does not talk about Overwatch and Hanzo. So it's super, super exciting to have you on the show. As far as Hanzo goes, what has it been like for you? You've kind of talked about it a little bit with the fans in Australia and stuff, but realistically, over the course of the whole project for Overwatch, what has it been like for you voicing a character that has become so iconic with the fans?
Well, and see, that's the thing that's so surprising to me, because when I first, went into the studio and did it, I had no idea really. And the way that when you go in and do the recording, you put the voice track down first. They basically will show you like a sort of a mock-up of who the character is.
Yeah.
So that's all you have. You just sort of have this like idea of, okay, that's what he looks like, but everything else, it's just, you, the microphone and the dialogue.
Yeah.
And, so, and then they animate everything once you put down the voice track. So, when I saw the short, I was amazed, because, you go in and you get the lines the day that you go in, because Blizzard and all of these companies are very very careful about not letting out
no
their
secrets
scripts or anything. No, and you have to sign an NDA.
Yeah.
And so you go in there and you basically get the script on the day that you record.
Dang.
And you're basically reading the lines, cold.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And
That's got to be challenging. But, as an actor, you're trained to do that. But wow.
Yes. I mean, and that's the skill of being a voiceover actor, because that's basically what's required of you. You have to go in and you have to give this performance with not ever having read the script before.
Like you've lived it and breathed it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. And so, so once I saw it, because you go in and then you just kind of forget about it, and months pass, and you might go in for another session and add stuff, but then seeing the finished product is like, I go, oh wow, oh like, did I do that? It's really kind of amazing. The artistry and the work they do at Blizzard is really, really kind of incredible. Being down, because I was at the campus before I went to Australia, and meeting with all the designers and Michael Chu, who writes all the scripts, and it's just an amazing group of creative people, and there are so many people that do all kinds of different jobs.
Yeah.
It truly is a huge collective group effort that they do there, and everybody seems to really love working there. It's like they call it a campus. And it's a great job for so many of those people, because like your brother, I think a lot of them grew up playing games.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to get into actually creating games, and so they're working there, and it's like a dream come true for so many of those people.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So it's a really great environment and atmosphere,
That's awesome.
And people are so happy there. That's the thing, you
awesome.
Go there and everybody just really is like so like crazy about what they're doing. So I mean, that's a really kind of wonderful thing to see.
What a great environment to walk into, though. So so encouraging for you to come in and be able to work and be with that team there that is such a invigorating and vibrant environment for you to kind of walk into, instead of something that would maybe be less exciting and vibrant. But that's awesome. I'm sure that definitely gives you some drive and some passion when you are around that kind of energy. It kind of fuels you, so.
Oh yeah, no, it does. And it was so great to meet all the people that work on it, because they're big fans. They're just as big fans as all you guys out there too.
Yeah.
They're just as big fans.
They're just geeking out as much.
Yeah. And so we were signing, things for them, so, I mean, I think that's the most rewarding thing for me, is to see how much, the fans appreciate it, and seeing, these kids that are like, maybe, I had kids come up to me that were, maybe 10 or, and the way that their eyes lit up, and were so excited.
Yeah.
That to me was just really rewarding, so rewarding, and so nice to see that,
Absolutely. Well, that sounds really amazing. I know seeing a young fan light up like a Christmas tree when you, when they realize who you are, or maybe they already know, it has to be super exciting for you to say, wow, Hanzo's character has, meant this much to that person. And when they light up, you're just like, wow, that's gotta be super epic, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Wow.
really was. And I think that was actually the best part of the trip. Aside from holding a koala and feeding kangaroos,
Oh,
that
cool.
was really
That's awesome.
that was really the basis of the trip for me, was seeing the fans' reactions, and being able to just share a few minutes with them.
Oh, that is so cool. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for talking with me about Hanzo. I did want to speak with you.
It's my pleasure.
Well, thank you so much. I did want to speak with you about some of your other characters real quickly. You've
Sure.
done it's really cool because through the course of Batman since 1992 all the way to 2013, you've been in Batman the Animated Series where you played a doctor. He wasn't really specified as to a name, but then you came back in 2008 with Batman the Brave and the Bold and played 3 different characters, at least on that show, maybe some incidentals. You played Wong Fei, Takahiro, and Takao. So you got to play 3 different characters on that with an Asian inclination on that show as well. And then you also came back in 2013 on Beware the Batman. And so it's really cool that you've kind of had a legacy with the Batman series, different shows that have come out over the years. So
it was interesting that one where I had the 3 characters,
yeah.
The Batman episode. I actually 2 of the characters I voiced at the same time.
What?
So I was having a conversation with myself.
That's so funny.
Because I was playing this. Wong Fei was like this old guy.
Yeah.
And then this Takahiro character was like this samurai kind of like tough guy. So I would literally, do Wong Fei, who is this character? And then the voice would be, and then I would have to switch to Takahiro. So that was actually kind of fun.
That's awesome. Did you ever have a moment where like you said the next line, but in the wrong voice?
On the wrong voice? Actually, that didn't happen, but
good.
surprisingly enough, it actually didn't happen. But
I think my brain would be a little teased like that. I'd probably like go from one character to the other, say the same, kind of voice, but be like, wait a minute, that's not right. But that's funny. That's awesome. Having a conversation with yourself. And that's the kind of funny things that can happen in voiceover. So that's really unique.
Yeah, well, no, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. Well, another great show that you were on was Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, that came out in 2007. It was an animated Marvel film. And you played Wong on that show, which I was like, oh, that's super cool because I love the Marvel animated movies. And that one was an extremely well done production, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Paul's been on Doctor Strange as well, which definitely predated the live action movie by almost 10 years, or by 10 years. So that's really cool that you were able to be part of the Marvel legacy along with the DC legacy as well as Overwatch. I mean, you've been a part of some amazing projects that have great legacies, and I think Overwatch is bound to just continue to grow, and hopefully we'll see Hanzo return with new stories in Overwatch 2 whenever that comes out.
Well, he's in Heroes of the Storm that will be coming out if it hasn't been released.
Okay.
But Heroes of the Storm, he's in that
awesome
as well. There's a trailer out for Heroes of the Storm.
Okay.
I did that. I just did that this summer. So
I will definitely have to check that out.
No, yeah, definitely. But
awesome.
also, if there are anime fans out there, they should check out Death Note because that was something that I did.
Yes, I am so glad you brought that up because Death Note is a huge anime. And my brothers are both anime lovers. They have such a passion for anime. I love anime, but my brothers absolutely love it without a. That's their love, anime and Overwatch. But
oh wow,
that's awesome. And tell us about your role in Death Note, and tell us a little bit about that project. That'd be great, Paul.
Well, it was funny because I was in New York doing The King and I, and that was when I auditioned for Death Note and was cast for Death Note. Strangely enough, there's a part where I sing in the show.
No way.
In the movie, yeah.
That's awesome.
So they had actually asked me to, sing for my audition.
That's funny.
It kind of went full circle of, So you'll see that if you watch the movie. So I got hired, and then I was shot it in King and I closed, and then the next day I was on a plane, and I went to Vancouver to shoot Death Note, and was there for about 5 or 6 weeks last summer.
Wow. And
it just came out this August. I play Watari, and he is sort of the handler. I liken the character to sort of Alfred in Batman.
Yeah. Going
back to Batman. But so you guys have to check it out. Everybody has to check it out. It's on Netflix. I think you'll like it. It's geared for sort of high school, age 20s. Because it takes place. The main characters are in high school.
Yeah.
So and it's an American version. I know there was some sort of flack because diehard anime, fans didn't think it followed the story enough. But
Yeah.
this was an American adaptation because there's been several Japanese adaptations and series, and they had a whole like live action series, and they've made movies. So this was a big departure from that, and directed by Adam Wingard, and it's an American um, um, version of it. So
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely
but
check it out because I've seen it on Netflix, but I
yeah,
hadn't had a chance to watch it yet. But now that I know you're in it, it makes that kind of stuff more special for me when I know somebody who's in the show. And I hope that's the same for my listeners when they've heard an interview with, like you, Paul. And that way when people like watch a show or play a video game like Overwatch, it'll never be the same again for them because they've been able to hear this interview and kind of get this inside thing into the world of the actors that I talk to and make them feel closer and more like family than just the voice on a video game or a project or an actor on a screen or on a stage. So
no, I mean definitely, and I think that's great about how you approach it and what you bring through interviewing people.
well, I appreciate that, Paul. I've always had a passion for voice, and I was that kid that when a voice would change from movie 1 to movie 2, then it was always like that's not the same, and then you're like, oh well, they did them 20 years apart, and that cast grew up, and those little kids aren't little kids anymore, and or whatever, that kind of stuff. So voice had always been something that really meant something to me, and I wanted to share my passion with the world, and found out that there are tons of people who want to know the behind the scenes stories of the actors that we love from our animations and video games and movies and more. So I can't thank you enough for giving me some of your time to talk today. I just have a few more questions and we will wrap this interview up,
sure.
Paul. The first of the three that I'm going to ask is, what is the advice you would give to somebody, especially like my brothers who are extreme passionate Hanzo fans? What is the kind of advice you would give them if they are looking at joining this world of voiceover?
If they actually are thinking of or really have a desire to do voiceover, I think the first thing to do is really study acting, because that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's acting, and yes, there are people that, because I meet people that can mimic voices, and they can do certain imitations of certain voices, and that's great, but you also have to have the acting ability behind it. So if you can do imitations and then you have the acting ability behind it, and then you like I said, you're able to pick up a script and for the first time read it with all of the inflection and all of the emotion and the drama and everything that you need in it, then you're ready to try to do voiceover. Because I meet people a lot and they ask me that question, and they don't really realize what's required of you, and that's why you get hired, is because you can go in and do that. If you get to that point through your acting that you can pick up something and realize it, and fully realized in your first reading, then you're ready to go out and start working.
Absolutely.
So whatever you have to do to get to that point is the work that you have to put into it.
I love that, Paul.
And my suggestion would be, to start studying acting, and maybe doing kind of cold reading classes where you are given a script and you have to read through it and stuff like that. Those are the beginning steps to starting down a road towards voiceover work.
Absolutely. I love that advice, Paul. That's one of the reasons I do this show too. It's not just for enthusiasts and people who love voiceover like I do, but it's for those of us who are looking at becoming voiceover actors so that they can be educated by the ones that they love and care about through their different projects, whatever it be, like Overwatch. And so I really thank you for your advice on that, because there are people that will be listening to this who are more than enthusiasts. They want to actually join this awesome world of voiceover. And so thank you very much for that advice, Paul.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, I know a lot of cities, a lot of the larger cities, have voiceover workshops,
Yeah.
and like they'll specify like animation voiceover, and so that's something that I think would be very good for who are people who are interested to check out. And you take one of those workshops and see how, because that's exactly what they'll do for you. They'll give you a copy. You'll go into the studio, you read, and you'll get a sort of a basic kind of feeling of the world of voiceover. So that's a suggestion I would give to people.
Well, thank you very much for that, Paul. It's great advice,
Sure.
and I can't thank you enough. It's sometimes when we have guests on the show, the questions may be similar, like when I ask people for their advice, but it's going to touch somebody differently when they're a fan of Overwatch versus whatever the other actor was on from the last show, that kind of thing. So I always like to ask that because there are people on this show who may not even think about voiceover in that light, and they hear this interview and go, wow, I now want to be a voice actor because I was listening to this interview with Paul Nakauchi, who plays Hanzo, and it changed my life forever. So, the whole reason I created this show was to motivate, educate and inspire. And it's definitely been doing that very thing since August of 2016. And it's been amazing to see the show grow. And thank you for being a part of my legacy and my show to inspire people and motivate them and let them know a little bit more about Hanzo and about the man behind the voice.
No, it's really my pleasure, and thank you for contacting me. And
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that for your little brothers that I was able to be on the show.
Absolutely, it's an early Christmas present for them, so it's going to be quite awesome. Absolutely. Well, I just have two final questions, but before I do,
Sure.
I wanted to say I absolutely love the fact that you're a singer. You have a beautiful voice. I watched a video of you singing as the King of Siam from The King and I, which is one of my absolute favorite musicals growing up. My parents had that Rodgers and Hammerstein's pack as a kid, so we had Oklahoma and Carousel and
Oh my God.
King and I grew up loving musicals.
Wow.
I was in all of them in high school. I was in Music Man and Fiddler on the Roof, and so getting to see that, because I was looking up stuff to research you for the interview to make sure we had a lot of make sure I had all the info on you, and somebody had a video that said Hanzo singing, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I thought it was literally gonna be Hanzo singing for the Overwatch promo or something, and it was actually you singing on stage as the King of Siam. You were on a square stage singing and dancing around, and it was just like, wow, this is super cool. I love the King and I you have a beautiful voice, Paul.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go look at that and see what that's from. If it was like a bootleg, because I did the King and I in London at the London Palladium back in 2000, and I was in London for a year. So I was just wondering if it's from that production, or it could be from, I don't know. I've done so many productions of King and I that
Who knows, right?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I sort of lose track, but
I understand.
well, that's fun.
Yeah, it was really
that's really
fun. When I
fun.
watched that, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But
Yeah, no, actually,
it's
it was
amazing.
funny because I was working up at the Guthrie Theater this summer doing a Sunday in the Park with George, and these two young men came up to me afterwards and asked for my autograph. I'm going, okay, because I wasn't the star of the show. I mean, I was a principal role, but I wasn't. And I go, oh, you must be Overwatch fans. And yeah, we're Overwatch. Like, oh wow. Okay,
Whoa.
so that was kind of fun.
Well, and one of the
where
things,
the two worlds cross,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Well, and that's one thing I was going to say is, like myself, when I was researching stuff for Hanzo, I came across something for the King and I. So, when people become such a fan of you that they love one project, they sometimes gravitate towards your other projects too. And then they fall in love with maybe they weren't a musical lover. And then all of a sudden they find this thing called the King and I, and they're like, what is this? And why is Paul singing? And what's going on? And then their whole world is exploded and expanded into a whole nother genre of acting and entertainment that they might have never grown up with like I did, you know? So it's really amazing how much a project like Overwatch exploding and becoming such a fan favorite can really broaden people's horizons as to the entertainment industry and the world of acting and what it all entails fully, you know? So.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I think it's really great to be able to sort of like, you know, bring something different to all these fans that sort of guide them towards something they might not initially be interested in.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, and especially like musical theater, because live theater is such a wonderful thing, and
yes.
not enough people go see it, you know.
Yeah, sadly they don't.
But you know, so if I can, you know, help young people kind of see live theater for the first time, I think that's really wonderful, because I have spent a lot of my career in live theater.
Yeah.
So, but obviously this has had way more reach than, you know, because when you're in the theater, you're only performing for, you know, I don't know how many, like 1,000 people a night, you know, and even if you do it for you know, a year, the amount of people that you reach is just like minuscule to the amount of people that are playing Overwatch at this point in time.
Absolutely. Well, Paul, I have two final questions for you.
Sure.
And the first of the two is, do you have social media or a website, you know, a way that fans could reach out to you, or maybe there's even someone looking to partner with you and hire you as a voiceover actor for a project?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My name Paul Nakauchi. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Paul Nakauchi. I also have my a website, paulnakauchi.com, which I don't post as much on my website, but I probably and I am on Twitter, but I don't really post that much on Twitter. I guess I post more on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, so those are the where anybody could, you know, go and see. I posted a lot of stuff on Instagram from Australia when I was there. It's just, and you know, it's funny because in this social media day, you have to be posting all the time, and you know, it sort of becomes like, oh my God, my life is a lot less interesting than what it seems like. But I think that's what everybody does, you know. It's like, oh wow, look at how interesting these pancakes are, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the last question I have for you, Paul, is what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
You know, I guess it's just that if I've touched you, I think with my talent or what I do, I mean, I think that's the legacy that I want to leave behind. That it's something that you've heard in my voice, something you've seen, or something that has touched you in any particular way. I mean, I think that's the goal of any actor, is that they've kind of touched your soul in some way, shape, or form. And if that actually has happened, then I feel like I've done my job, and then I feel like I've been successful at what I'm doing. So that's why seeing people and meeting fans really touches me so much, is because it really says to me, you know, demonstrates that yes, I have, that people have actually, you know, been touched and changed by what I do. So that's the most rewarding thing to me about what I do. So thank you all you fans out there for you know, playing and enjoying the game, and hopefully I'll be out there, you know, creating new content at some point.
Absolutely, Paul. Well, thank you so very much for sharing your legacy with me today and with my audience. And it's been amazing getting to talk with you today about Hanzo and all the other amazing projects that you've worked on, you know, from stage to voiceover to live action, you know, with your Death Note movie on Netflix. Guys, check that out for sure. But it's been super fantastic, Paul. I can't thank you enough. And this will mean the world to my brothers. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, well, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. And happy holidays to everybody out there.
Happy holidays. Well, Paul, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show today. Would you please give us a special closeout today as Hanzo from Overwatch?
Sure. This is Paul Nakauchi, wishing you all happy holidays. And this is a shout out to Preston and Blake. You guys are awesome.
Well, everyone, I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode with Paul Nakauchi, the voice of Hanzo from Overwatch. And if you did, please find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Who Did That Voice. I would love to hear from you. You know, a question you might ask yourself is, where can I listen to Who Did That Voice? That's an excellent question. You can hear us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and our website at www.whodidthatvoice.co. Click the Episodes tab and listen away. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us next time for our special guest, Adam Wiley, the voice of Peter Pan from Jake and the Neverland Pirates. You won't want to miss this episode. Hey, do you ask yourself who did that voice? Well, if you do, go to our website, www.whodidthatvoice.co, and click on the Episodes tab. Choose an actor, pick their name, and see pictures from the different characters they've voiced in their career.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.